Hi, thanks for using My Court Coach. I'm Sarah, and I'll be your instructor today as we talk about the Case Information Family Law Form, also known as Form FL-172. As with all our court forms, you want to fill in your identifying case caption information at the top. You'll notice at the top this form says this form is for court use only. What that means is this does not get placed in the file that is available to the public. This is a form that's being provided to your judicial officer to provide him with information on the case. More than likely, this is being filed in anticipation of a family resolution conference. That's a status conference where the court checks on the status of your case to see what they can do to assist in moving it along. Either the judge has asked you to file this form or you are doing so on your own volition just to provide some additional information to your judicial officer. So in line number 1, you're going to list the name of the judicial officer who's assigned to the case as well as the department number. In line number 2, you're going to list what date the petition was filed on, and that petition can be for a dissolution, a legal separation, a nullity, a parentage case, or any other type of case. And here is where you list the file date. Line 3 is to provide some background data for the case. If this is a marriage or legal separation or domestic partnership, you would list the date of marriage, the date of separation that's listed on the petition. If the response has a different date of separation listed, you would list that right here. And then below that, list the total length of marriage in years and months. If there is a dispute about the length of the marriage between the two parties, then you want to mark box 3B. If either party needs an interpreter, mark box 3C and list the name of the party, identify which party needs the interpreter and the language that they need the interpreter in. If there are children of this relationship, you want to list their names, birth dates, ages, genders in line 4. If you need additional space to fill out this information, you can always add an attachment and then just mark box 4A. If there are related cases to this case, if either one or both of the parties or the children of the case are involved in another related case, mark box 5 and then identify the box that correctly identifies what the other type of case is and list the county and case number for that case. If the marital status of the marriage or domestic partnership has been terminated, and that can happen sometimes where you just want to be able to terminate the marital status, but maybe have not resolved all the issues of the case, then you would mark box 6, list the date of the termination and the date of the judgment where that status was entered. And sometimes those are not one and the same. So you just want to make sure to list the date for each of these events. Item 7 has to do with the service of the response and whether a response has been filed. So in line 7, if the respondent was served with the petition, you want to mark box 7A, list the date that the petition was served on and by what method, and below are your options as to method: personal service, substituted service, publication or posting, notice and acknowledgement of receipt, or other. If the respondent has not been served with the petition, you would mark box 7B. If the respondent has filed a response, mark 7C and list the date that the response was filed. If the respondent has not filed a response with the court, mark 7D. If a default has been entered against the respondent, mark 7E. And if the respondent has appeared by filing an appearance, stipulation, and waivers form, mark 7F. However, that is usually done as part of a final resolution of the case, a judgment. But in case you have a partial judgment maybe, then you could mark that box. 8 has to do with disclosures. Again, in every sort of divorce action, whether that's a divorce, legal separation, or termination of domestic partnership, there needs to be financial disclosures served on both parties. So if the preliminary set of declarations of disclosure have been exchanged, you would mark box 8A and list or mark the boxes that identify the parties which have complied with that requirement. If the final declaration of disclosure have been completed, then you would want to mark box 8B as to which party has completed those. And if both, then you can mark both. If the final set of declarations of disclosure have been waived by the parties, you would mark box 8C, and you would have to mark box petitioner and respondent, since that agreement to waive final declarations of disclosure has to be a mutual agreement. If there is any other information with respect to the declarations of disclosure you would like to share with the court, list that under 8D. If it's some action that the parties have undertaken, you can mark the box that identifies the party that undertook that action. If there is a restraining order in the case, you would mark box 9. And under 9A, list who the protected party is. And if the children are included as protected persons as well, then mark box 9B. If Department of Child Support Services or your local child support agency is involved in the case, then you need to fill in field 10. Either the Department of Child Support Services has a separate case open that has a different case number, you would mark 10A. If they are part of this case, enforcing support orders as a part of this case, then you would mark 10B. Field 11, again, if there are minor children in the case, has to do with custody visitation. If the parties have participated in any sort of mediation pertaining to custody visitation, you would mark 11A. If the parties have reached an agreement as to custody visitation, mark 11B. If there is an attorney appointed to the minor children of the case, mark 11C. If there has been a child custody evaluation either done or ordered as part of this case, mark 11D, and you're going to indicate whether it's been ordered, and if it's been completed and a report has been filed, then you could mark here. If there are any other experts that have been appointed to this case, mark 12 and list the issues that they have been appointed to address. If there's anything else that you think the court needs to know about this case, you can fill that in line 13. This form is now completed and ready to be provided to the court. I hope you found this helpful. Good luck.